Max Kellerman, who does First Take with Stephen A. Smith and Molly Karam from 10 to noon.
He's also the first man I ever knew in the business and was always a kind soul to me.
Like Seth Meyers, right?
I think he's much better than Seth Meyers.
Seth Meyers is a great guy.
I don't know.
Max, how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. I apologize in advance if you hear a crying 2-year-old in the background.
I know the
feeling. When she gets daddy, she doesn't like to let go.
I understand. So we'll make it quick. Number one, do you believe that this fight could actually happen?
It really could actually happen because there's real money to be made, and Floyd Mayweather, especially at this point in his career, wants to optimize returns and minimize risk. And in a boxing ring, there is exactly zero risk, and the returns could be enormous, certainly over $100 million for Floyd. So, of course. And then also partly that's because the UFC's popularity is partly due to the fact that Dana White and the UFC have controlled labor costs. So the price for his opponent is not as high as it would normally have to be in order to generate an enormous revenue. Mayweather's opponent doesn't get as large a slice of the pie, and yet will have a huge hand in promoting the fight because he's very popular.
How about legacy-wise, Max? I mean, if Floyd ever lost this fight, how devastating would it be to the sport of boxing?
There's just no way he can lose the fight. It can't happen. Like Tyson Douglas, it would be 100 times less likely than Tyson Douglas.
So all the more reason that it would be devastating if it ever did happen.
Yeah, yes, but it's just the only way Floyd could lose is if, let's say, he broke both his hands on McGregor's head or something like that. Like literally, I can't stress this enough. It would be like because it's combat sports. I understand why people think that McGregor would have a chance, but it would be like just a good athlete picking up a basketball and saying, you know what, I'm going to play LeBron James to 21.
Wow.
No one would think that guy has. And by the way, Floyd would have the same kind of chance in an octagon.
Right.
None. This is one of the problems, guys, with boxers fighting MMA artists. They kind of need to split the difference somehow to make it competitive, like in a hexagon, right? There's no way to really split the difference. So if it's in a ring, the boxer's going to destroy him, and vice versa in an octagon.
So is there a possibility, Max, that Floyd is really in a spot where he needs this money? Because I cannot imagine. I mean, the only logic I have, and you obviously know Floyd and his logic better than I do. He's 49-0. We all, I think, would love to have seen him get to 50 and have a competitive boxing match to end his career instead of his last fight, which was a joke, and Pacquiao was a disappointment. So the only two reasons would be to get that 50th fight and have a guaranteed win, and also because he's spending money at such a rapid rate that he needs the money. Which of those two things is it?
It's neither, to tell you the truth. I don't think the 50-0 is nearly as important to him. In fact, I don't know why he would burn that on a Connor McGregor fight, which would also be huge for his 51st or 54th, or had it been his 49th fight, right? So there's no reason to shoot that bullet with Connor McGregor because you could get a payday out of 50 and a payday out of McGregor.
Good point.
And in terms of the money, it's not that he needs the money. You know why it's so hard for boxers to retire? If I were to ask either one of you guys, would you fight Vladimir Klitschko, until recently the heavyweight champion of the world, or Anthony Joshua, some huge heavyweight, for $5 million? You'd think, okay, look, he's going to hit me once, I'm going to get knocked out, I'm going to collect $5 million. Neither one of you is a professional or even amateur fighter, right? I would do it too. Anyone would do it. But that's not what they ask these fighters to do. They ask these fighters, they're in a position where they're not a non-professional or non-amateur. They used to be one of the best in the world, and let's say they're still top 10 or 20 in the world in their division. And they're asked not to fight a guy twice their size, but a guy the same size. And sometimes it's not for $5 million, it's for $25 million. But in this case, they're asking Floyd, who's still the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, likely, to fight a guy who's never been in the ring with a top 10 guy in his own weight division. So the guy has no shot to beat Floyd, and they're not offering $5 or $25 million. It may be $250 million. So whether or not you need the money, who's not doing that?
Now, people do listen to you, Max, because you're an expert. I mean, you know boxing as well as anybody, and you're not going to be the only guy who's going to say there's no chance that McGregor wins this fight. So if we're tossing around numbers like $250 million, they've got to do pay-per-view business. How do they sell this fight?
Here's what's crazy, guys. Let's say it's $100 on pay-per-view, right? You're right. They're going to hear a lot of the kind of the cognoscetti in the industry or the intelligentsia, right? Tell you, guys, this is an exhibition. But you know what those people who are saying that are going to do on fight night? Buy the fight. You know, it is a curiosity the likes of which the only reason not to buy the fight, provided you can afford it, you have the disposable income, the only reason not to buy the fight is because you're making a statement. But it is interesting entertainment. You know, if only because two of the biggest names in combat sports are combating each other. So yes, it will be viewed by most who understand as non-competitive, and yet the same people who are saying it's non-competitive will admit, yes, I'm going to watch the fight.
So if you're not working the fight that night for HBO, will you pay to see it?
Yeah. Yep.
Just to see how the carnage happens.
Like, yeah, it's like, you know, okay, let's say LeBron James, let's do the LeBron James thought experiment, is now trying to cover who would it be in football who might play basketball? You know, you think a football player is going to play LeBron James one-on-one.
Antonio Gates.
Right, sure, someone like that. Antonio Gates plays LeBron James one-on-one. Does anyone think Gates has a chance to win? No. And because it's not an actual fight, you can't really charge the same on pay-per-view. But are you going to watch it if it's on TV? I'm watching.
Now, I'm curious, do you think that Floyd would knock him out, or would he just be Floyd and pepper him and win by a big margin on the card?
Floyd would knock him out when he pleased.
Really?
You know, as he pleased, too. And I don't think he would do it too early intentionally. I think because Connor would do such a good job promoting the fight, Floyd would give the fans a show for a couple rounds, dance on them, do some things, make it look like an event, and then knock him out. The thing is, guys, you know when you hear a guy takes a good punch, you know what that really means? This guy has a good chin. What that means is he's not getting hit on his chin. You know, he's not getting hit on the button. That's why he can take the punch, because he gets hit on the head, on the cheek, you know, in the nose, wherever it is, but not on the chin. And Floyd Mayweather's accuracy, hand speed, and muscle memory are such that he will be able to hit Connor McGregor wherever he wants every time Connor McGregor throws a punch. It's like, you know, I would have to see, before I even thought it had a remote chance of being competitive, I'd have to see Connor McGregor in with a top 10 or 20 boxer in the weight division. And guys, usually it takes, you know, 5 or 6 years to build a guy into a 10-round fighter, let alone a contender. Now, Conor McGregor has a head start because he knows how to use his hands. He's a fighter, not a boxer, but a fighter. So it might not take 5 or 6 years to make him into a 10-round fighter, but a top 10 fighter in the weight division even, it may. And he's not getting in with the top 10 guys, getting in with the best guy.
Max, as an expert, as a purist, and maybe more importantly, a historian of boxing, are you sad for Floyd to make this decision?
No, because the joke's not on Floyd. You know, Floyd told the joke's on the rest of us. Floyd told everyone, including me, before the Pacquiao fight in the fighter meetings, when he says TBE, the best ever, he doesn't necessarily mean in the ring. He said someone else can have that. What he means is he's played the fight game better than anyone. In other words, really long career, more money than anyone, minimized risk, minimized the damage he took, maximized the reward, the fame, all those kind of things. He's right. He played that game. If the idea is to get in, make as much as you can, never lose, and get out with all your marbles, he did that. And sometimes he did it by promoting fights that people knew better going into, that the other guy didn't have a chance, and paid for it anyway. So it's hard to feel sorry for that guy.
We're talking with Max Kellerman. Before I let you go, I mean, this is an obvious question, which I guess it's an obvious answer. So McGregor knows he has no shot. This is just a money grab for him.
Yes, well, I mean, and of course, and McGregor is not just like a money grab. He is capped in terms of what he can make, because as I said, UFC's popularity comes from controlling labor costs, as any good league tries to do. And so where else is he going to make upwards of $25 million or whatever the number will turn out to be? In a night, it would take him 5 fights to do that. Right. And each guy in MMA is de facto one-punch knockout artist, because as we know, you make one wrong move against the Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy, you're submitted. You know, like, and that can happen. Very few fighters, Anderson Silva, a couple others, have fought top fighter after top fighter without losing by knockout or submission. That could happen against anyone for a fraction of the money. And let's say when he does get stopped by Floyd, who cares? He's not a boxer. Has nothing to do with his MMA.
That's true. Well, your 2-year-old behaved very well, and you gave us good info, Max. Thanks a lot.
Always great talking to you, Michael.